Two races left in the Spanish Winter Championship season. It's round 3 of the E4 category coming up next, and it's going to be a very interesting one if the first race of today is anything to go by. The American star Vivek Kanthan keeping his title aspirations alive and kicking with this one. In the first race, he got himself to the victory in front of his teammate Noah Montero, and that means that it's going to be a head-to-head duel for the title between the Griffin Core teammates. Noah Montero of Portugal, only a handful of points away from sealing the deal, but his American colleague is going to try every trick in the book possible before this season concludes to keep the title in his reach. It's going to be an interesting conclusion to the championship, that is for sure. 9 degrees Celsius air temperature, a whisker under 50% humidity, and still high winds, 51 to 52 kilometers an hour expected for those gusts of wind around the circuit. It's definitely going to be exciting and nail-biting all the way to the final crescendo. We've got some amazing battles to come. This is the sprint race, 20 minutes plus 1 lap, rather than the full 30 minutes of the regular race distance. And it's also a reverse grid race. That means there's only going to be 10 points available for the race victory. Pole position goes the way of Casper Schormans, ahead of Simon Bulbarella, with Mickey Blaschkos, Renault Franco, Jensen Burnett and Fausto Arnardo giving chase. Kanthan down in P8, Montero down in P9, and the vanquished foe, Nathan Ty, who got pole position for the first race, now starting the reverse sprint race all the way back in 12th. Expect big action and exciting battles all the way through this weekend. We've certainly seen plenty of them since the start of this fantastic season. It's already been pretty exciting and very epic stuff from our drivers. They've given us plenty to get excited about over the course of the weekend. Since we started in Portimao, when the battle went the way of Nathan Ty, the second round was very much Noah Montero territory. There's a good chance that round 3 could be Vivek Kanthan City. However, will there be enough points in the tank from the American to turn the title in his favour? It's definitely going to be very close indeed, all the way to the final lap of the season. I'm Jake Sanson, and I'm going to be sharing the commentary box with you over the course of the next 20 minutes plus the additional lap once the race actually gets underway. The cars are set to leave the pit lane at 1500 local time. That is in a little under 8 minutes time, so we've got plenty of opportunity to discuss the ins and outs of this fantastic showdown. On this magnificent circuit, the Motorland Aragon circuit, still plenty of things for us to get excited about, and a lot of drama is set to come our way. We've got great battles for all of the drivers set to get under starters orders. 5.34 kilometers of this magnificent circuit. The clouds are starting to push further out around the circuit as well, and that earlier threat of rain looks like it could well be a thing of the past. We're obviously going to have some interesting challenges in this 20 minutes race, especially now with this being the final weekend of the season. We can expect a fair instantaneous breed of safety cars and stoppages through the course of the weekend as the drivers are itching to take a few more personal risks. But those are the two stats you really want to keep an eye on there. 51 kilometers an hour wind speed and the air temperature not even 10 degrees Celsius. That makes it a very cold day at the races with very strong winds. That means that finding grip in these tyres and temperature in these brakes are both going to be very, very strong indeed. So we're going to continue our battle out on the circuit at the Motorland Aragon circuit very soon indeed. But it really is going to be an exciting battle for our contenders. They know what's at stake, and they know how much we're going to put at stake as the championship continues between Vivek Kanthan and the championship leader Noah Montero. In fact, the air temperature is dropping all the time at the moment. Track temperature is only about 25 to 26 degrees Celsius air temperature as well, so it'll be a premium for grip as well. As a result of all of that, we could see a very strange race play out. We've already seen sprint race victories this season for Andrej Petrovic and Boris Leisen, neither of which are going to be starting this race in the top 6, nor are any of the drivers who've won races so far this season. So, from me, Jake Sanson, to my colleague down in the pit lane, Alex Garcia, a lot of expectation for this race to be a bit of an unusual one. We don't really know what we can expect to see other than excitement, badinage and banter, and we could also see a new champion.
Hello again, Jake, and yeah, this is exactly what we can expect. We can expect the unexpected, and we can expect more or less the same kind of vibe that we have seen in the 2 sprint races that we've seen in the Spanish Winter Championship so far, in Madrid in Jarama and in Portimao in Portugal. Why? Well, because of the, of course, 12 reverse positions from the qualifying one, which have given us some unusual or less usual winners and some interesting positions to start the race from. If we add to that the fact that we have had a much colder race in the morning, and we've had, of course, our wet qualifying before that, we have conditions that we haven't had yet today, which of course means that drivers and teams will have had to adapt constantly through every session, and we don't know yet who's going to nail that setup for today, or I should say for the last race of the day. As we start making our way to the grid, what I can say is that we always have to keep in mind that small, but not so small perhaps, detail of strategy, which is who's going to take that choice of using a new set of tires and who's going to be using an old set of tires to get it out of the way and keep that new set fresh for tomorrow. Remember that there's still one race tomorrow, of course, the longer one, and some of the drivers will want to prioritize that, given that they might expect a better starting position, or plain and simple, they have more points to gain. Now, will we see a champion, as you said, Jake? I don't know. There are chances, of course, for Noah Montero, but they depend also on what his teammate Vivek Kantan is capable of doing on this last race of the day.
It's difficult to know because you almost want to see a fight go down to the wire, but for Vivek Kantan it is going to be difficult to finish the job with Noah Montero just one place behind him. For the Portuguese driver, all he has to do is stay consistent, and if he stays close to Vivek, then the title is done. But the difficulty we've got, Alex, because of the wet weather qualifying session earlier, everybody fast is kind of out of position to a certain extent, especially with this reverse grid. We've got Kantan 8th, Montero 9th, Ty 12th, and a lot of drivers like Petrovic, Fischer, Flusha, even the likes of Nacho Tunion, all trying to fight their way back into position. We've got a lot of fast pilots who are way out of position. It's going to leave people like Shormans, Barbarella, Blascos, Franco, Burnett and Onaldo at the front six. They all want to get a decent result in the board, but with the guys who have spent most of their time collecting silverware this season behind them, it's almost like we've picked the deck of cards and thrown it up in the air. It's almost a random order, and as a result we're going to get a very tricky race indeed.
And we have a bunch of very, very, very hungry drivers on top of this grid. Because they are not the usual drivers who are expected to be at the top of the classification. And so when you're starting from the first or second row of the grid, when it's not your usual place, you're not going to let that go easily. So you're going to take any risk necessary to ensure that you have a chance to fight for a podium or indeed a win. So in that sense, those are risky places to fight for. As you know, Jake, drivers always have this idea that if you're starting from potentially 8th to 15th, 16th place, that is a risky place to start from because it is full of very hungry drivers who are maybe less experienced when fighting for top positions. This is reverse here as well. So ironically, starting from those 4, 5, 6 places at the top may be riskier because those drivers are less experienced. So for drivers like Noah Montero, for Vivek Kantan, wanting to get places back and wanting to fight at the top, they will have to go through those drivers who are, shall we say, a little bit riskier to fight with.
Yeah, I think it's a very fair point. You've also got drivers behind them who want to come through. So I think there's a lot of different variables in this starting grid. There's a lot of different changes of aspect in the starting lineup for this one. We could see pandemonium in the first couple of laps, but what I really do want to see from these guys is a little bit of calm, a little bit of composure in those first couple of laps. A lot of the lessons that have been learnt from those first 2 weekends have been learnt by drivers the hard way. It would be fascinating to see the drivers be a little bit more calculated, a little bit more calm and a bit more disciplined. A lot of races can be lost in those first couple of laps rather than won, and so the drivers have to be thinking fairly carefully about how to get the job done. But of course, with those drivers we talked about being in a very positive position, the motivation and that hunger that you talked about to end their Spanish Winter Championship on a high note, that's the kind of motivation that can carry through to the main body of the season starting in April.
That is probably what they're hoping for. They're hoping for a good end of the Spanish Winter Championship, a good end to the day today, a good end to the winter season tomorrow, and keep that feeling of speed, that feeling of confidence for the main body of the season. Will they be able to, all of them? Well, obviously not all of them can be at the top, but what I can tell you is that the weather is trying to make things difficult. Because yes, I'm talking about the temperatures getting better, the skies are clearing up, so all those possibilities of rain, I think, are looking less and less likely. But the wind is picking up. And of course, as I say this, it's found a pocket of calmer air. But just 2-3 minutes ago, the wind was strongest than I felt all day. And if this is strongest here, I cannot even imagine on the other side of the track. And it is crosswind. And crosswind at the back straight, oh, you know that's going to be a tricky one. I know that it doesn't stop drivers from overtaking. We've seen in Euro Cup 3 that you can still make the most of that back straight, even when the wind's present. But for Formula 4s, which are smaller cars and they are more sensitive to the air, you have to be more careful with that.
You do. We have to talk a little bit about the science of this weekend, because with the cooler temperatures, 9 degrees Celsius air temperature and a circuit temperature, the top level is only going to be about 23 to 25 degrees Celsius, roughly or so. Now, that means that the tyres will not be as worn out as they usually would be over the course of a race distance, but you've got added problems aerodynamically when the crosswinds hit the car at a certain trajectory in a certain radius of the circuit. Now, we've already heard from Vivek Kanthan at the end of the race one. It certainly provided a few challenges. It wouldn't surprise me if he was keeping a little bit in reserve there, because you've got to remember the fact that these guys are 15, 16, 17, 18 years of age, and they are trying to basically control a very tricky machine when it's at the limit anyway. Throw 51 to 55 kilometers an hour crosswinds at various corners at various times. You don't really know what the wind is going to do. You don't really know when it's going to hit you and at what angle. You may get a split second to react to the way that the car is suddenly pushed out of its trajectory.
This is the type of conditions that are going to challenge the spatial awareness of these drivers. Why? Because they have to keep an eye on the guy that's behind them, the guy that's ahead of them, the guy that's potentially next to them on the straight. And depending on what they see on these cars, they have to make split-second decisions. Keep in mind that as well, Jake. Engines like cooler temperatures. This means that the cooler it is, the colder it is, the faster the engines run, the faster the high speeds are on those straights. And so, potentially, the more you have to brake, the stronger, the harder you have to brake. Potentially you have to brake a little bit earlier. Grip, therefore, is a little bit more critical in those corners because you are getting there quicker than you would. Aerodynamic changes depending on temperature as well. As you said before, tires will degrade differently based on that temperature. But if you get to a corner quicker, if the temperatures are colder and your tires are, slide a bit more because they're not in the perfect range, then you're sliding more. If you're sliding more, you're punishing the tires more. So depending on what settings you're running, depending on how smooth your driving technique can be, things can be more tricky or less tricky than in normal conditions. And that depends almost entirely on the synergy between team, engineer and driver. We know that experience always plays dividends in these kind of conditions, in these type of situations. So the most experienced teams, the most experienced drivers always have a little bit of an advantage. But these are also the type of conditions where a driver who finds something special can give us a surprise. We've seen it this morning, both in qualifying and in the first race. We could see it as well here in the sprint race.
Yeah, the relationship with the engineer is absolutely critical in situations like this, and there's that element of trust and that element of reliance. Trust in the engineer, reliance on the driver, and the communication is actually going to be really important in the build-up to a race like this, where the driver has to really relate what's going on. Obviously the data can tell you a lot of the answers, but the feel is something that only a driver can give, and it's where the more articulate drivers, the more detailed and more analytical drivers will actually gain an advantage when it comes to setting up the car for these particular moments. So that is also going to have its own interesting element within the race. Now, we've got this exciting duel for the title. We've got drivers who want to finish off strong and get themselves onto the podium. We've got 3 rookies in the top 3 positions. We've got 20 minutes plus 1 lap, and we are in the coldest conditions of the season. All of those elements together are going to give us quite a spectacular show, but what's going to be interesting for me is who's going to have the patience And the patience is actually what's going to win this race. You can't just go gung-ho early in the first 3 or 4 laps and hope it's all going to come together. We've seen it time and time again this season. You can start strong, but you have to sustain it over the course of the whole 20 minutes. And it's where drivers like Boris Leisen and Andrei Petrovic were very good at this. They only drove as fast as they had to. They didn't overexert. They didn't punish the tyres. They didn't punish the brakes. Even in a shorter race where you can push perhaps a little bit harder, you still have to be measured, and it's the calm and focused driver that will win out.
Absolutely, Jake. And yet, from treating with these drivers, I'm able to get a little bit into their heads and think like they're thinking. And all I'm thinking is, I have to be patient. But also, it's a shorter race. But also, how many safety cars have we seen in a longer race? How many minutes of green flag conditions are we going to have? Oh man, I have to make it in the first 2 or 3 laps. And I know they're thinking that. And I know it's going to be very difficult for them to keep themselves calm and collected and patient, because they suspect that as long as anybody else, not even themselves, but someone else makes a mistake, and suddenly the race is cut down, maybe not by half, but you could cut it down by 1/4 or 1/3. And that makes things a lot tighter to get those overtakes done, to get that defense done if you're ahead. And I know that these drivers, they are young, they are impatient by nature, and this is the management that they have to take care of. I don't know, Jake, I know that the best way is to be patient, but can they actually be as patient as this race demands of them?
You're so right, Alex. It's that sense of urgency, knowing that you could only get 2 or 3 green laps at any one time. We've seen at times, we've literally gone 1 lap under green, then a safety car, then 1 lap again under green, then a safety car. With that sense of urgency comes a little bit of impatience and a little bit of impetuousness. And there is a sense of, immediacy. I have to make these places up now because we could spend another 5 minutes or so behind the safety car. And so that also comes with a price. You've got to roll the dice to make the moves. You've got to make those calculated maneuvers, but you could be the one who actually causes the safety car. But it is a balancing act. All the drivers have learned since the start of the season. There are so many different elements at play, so many different forces pulling against you in a fight like this. But I love these sprint races personally. When you've got 10 minutes less on the board and you're out of position, it tells you a lot about what the drivers are actually learning through the course of the races. Having reduced points but having reduced time, it definitely puts a lot more pressure on the driver. You've got fewer chances to make it happen. You've got fewer time to put things together. And for the drivers who are developing, the drivers who are making progress, you learn a lot more about a driver when they're losing compared to a driver when they're winning. And so you understand a lot more about how their timeline, how their developmental path is actually flowing.
That's really the key of it, Jake, and especially you get a sense of who is better at managing that pressure, because there is a lot of pressure, perhaps a little bit more than in a normal race, and not everyone is as good as managing it. And when you see a driver who's starting in a not so good position and manages to still recover, that's when you know that you have someone special. I remember both in Formula 4 Spanish Championship and Eurocup 3 as well, Keanu Al-Azari was always especially good at this. You would see him for whatever reason, maybe something happened, he was P8, P9, and you would think he's going to be impatient, and he wasn't. But when the green flag came, he was always among the first to get back 1 or 2 positions every time there was a restart. And that's when you get a sense, okay, this is something special. We're seeing a driver who knows when to be patient, who knows when to attack, who knows when to be aggressive, and doesn't make mistakes. Because that is, do not forget, the key to any success in motorsport. It's just not making mistakes. Regardless of the conditions, regardless of the temperatures, regardless of your position, you have to avoid mistakes and make the most of every situation that comes your way.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see how this all works out. We've got the 1 minute board up, the starting grid showing the positions on the screen. Alex, we're going to let the drivers get themselves ready and go for the glory, for the penultimate time in E4 in the Spanish Winter Championship. See you in a bit.
See you in a bit.
So the pressure and the battle is going to be joined as the drivers set off on their final formation lap. Green flag. And so the drivers go around one more time. They will warm up the tyres and brakes to the optimum temperature. For Casper Schormans, this is a big opportunity. He has threatened so much over the course of this Winter Championship season. He could convert this into a race win. It's possible, but then so too is it for the man alongside him for Drivex, Simon Bulbarella of Argentina. A big chance for him to take a leap forward and give himself another great showdown. Mickey Blascos and Renaud Franco in the mix as well, with Jensen Burnett and Fausto Onardo on the third row of the grid. Then Boris Schleisen and race 1 winner earlier on, Vivek Canthan from Noah Montero and Daniel Kelleher. And then we have Rocco Coronel in front of Nathan Ty. What a battle it's going to be. 30 points separating Montero and Canthan. At the end of this race, there will only be 28 points available. So if Montero sticks like glue to Canthan, then the title fight will be over. Canthan has to outscore Montero by 3 points in this race to keep the championship alive. He'll want to outscore him by considerably more than that to give him an even better chance of wrapping up this title. But he knows that it is going to be exceedingly difficult. Behind the top 12, we've got Andrei Petrovic and the Canadian Ty Fisher, Felipe Rice and Philippe Caras, then Luna Flusha and Elliot Kaczynski, Beau Levet and Louis Cochet from Nacho Tunion and Pablo Ricobono, from Jacob Mikelev and Max Redek, Maria Neto and Sebastian Frigoulet, from Alish Pineda, Jean-Philippe Caras, Stefano Padani, Zoe Florescu and Rahim Alibai. So 20 minutes plus 1 lap go onto the timing screen. Anybody who wants to follow it as they watch along can certainly do so. The link, by the way, if you want to watch live timing on your own laptops or iPads, is livetiming.alcamelsystems.com/F4 Spain-E3. So you can watch along as it happens on your own monitors as well. Weaving from side to side to get the temperature into the tyres. And it's all down to Schomans, Bulbarella, Mickey Blascos and Renaud Franco to make this run to the first corner as exciting as all the others have been. The E4 Spanish Winter Championship is drawing to a crescendo. If it stays like this, then Noah Montero will win the title at the end of this race, because Vivek Canthan is only 1 place ahead of him. And as we know, there's only 3 points available for P8 and 2 available for P9. So for Canthan and Montero, there needs to be a little bit more than what we've currently got from them. Vivek Canthan has to outscore Noah Montero by 3 points in the championship fight in this race to keep the title going on. It's definitely going to be very tricky from the outset, but we still don't really know who's going to get the best of it. So as the contenders gear themselves up into position, Casper Schomans, the Dutchman in pole position. Can he convert this into his first win at this level? Simon Bulbarella second, then Blascos, Franco, Burnett, Onardo, Leisen, Canthan, Montero, Kelleher, Coronel, Ty, Petrovic and Fisher, with Rice, Caras, Flusha, Kaczynski, Lovet, Cochet, Tunion and Ricobono, ahead of Jacob Mikelev, Max Redek, Marianito, Sebastian Frigoulet, Alish Pineda, Jean-Philippe Caras, and then Stefano Padani, Zoe Florescu and Rahim Alibai. We've got someone into the pit lane. So that looks like we're going to get a pit lane start from one of the cars at least. We'll try and pick up on that as the rest of the field is ready to go. Let's race again at Aragon. Great start from Schomans, but not a bad one from Bulbarella. He's going to try and go around the outside of the Dutchman and then cut through to the inside, but it will be Casper Schomans who leads the way. A fairly tidy start from the top 5 as they work their way through the chicane. Has everybody got through without incident? Certainly for the moment it seems to be okay. Nobody's stranded at the first corner, that's for sure. So Schomans leads away from Bulbarella. Then it's Blascos, Franco and Onardo. Blascos trying to come around the outside. Onardo fancies his chances on Franco. And here comes the Drivex trying to charge his way forward. That's Jensen Burnett as Vivek Canthan has gone into 6th position already. Noah Montero still down in 9th. So Canthan is certainly doing the hard work early to keep his championship aspirations alive. Safety car. Safety car already then. And we think it's Beau Levet. So Beau Levet appears to have dropped all the way down the order. It is indeed the Belgian driver Beau Levet for Thibaut Courtois Racing. Very unfortunate indeed for the Belgian. And we're not entirely sure why it is he stopped out the circuit. There doesn't look like much damage. Oh, hang on. Look at the rear of the car and you can see that the axle is out of line. So certainly damage then to Beau Levet's car. So, turn 2 is where he has stopped. They are all to keep to the left-hand side of the circuit as they go through. Need to try and figure out who else is in difficulty. Pineda got ahead of Frigolet, and Jean-Philippe Carras got ahead of Marianito on that sector as well. But that was just before the safety car called, I believe, so that should be okay. So it's Kasper Schormans who leads the way. And if you ever wanted to know why the safety car waits a little bit before going back to the pit lane at the end of the first lap, that's exactly why. So the safety car can pick the field up nice and early if there is an incident on the first lap. They're given the all clear by the end of the first sector. If the safety car is not required, then it gets itself back to the pits. But on this occasion, the accident happened in turn 2, so the safety car remained on standby. And as soon as it was called, it was put back into the racing line once again. So although nobody stalled on the grid, sadly not everybody made it through to the first chicane without incident. Certainly for Bolevet, it is already game over. Schormans leads from Bolbarella, Blaschkos, Franco, Arnaldo and Canthan. So Vivek Canthan already up into P6, and that's 3 points more than Noah Montero. And of course he has to outscore Montero by a minimum of 3 points in order to keep the title fight alive. So Canthan is already doing what he needs to do to set us up for a Sunday crescendo rather than have one on Saturday. This is certainly good news for us. We don't really fancy having a champion on Saturday. We'd rather have one on Sunday. Noah Montero would quite like to have one on Saturday, of course. But just as with everything else, when the race gets started, it's not up to him. It all comes down to what the racing gods give us. Schormans, Barbarella, Blaschkos, Franco, Arnaldo, Canthan, Burnett, Leijin and Montero. Coronel is 10th. There he is, the Dutchman, in the Red Bull colours. And then 11th is Nathan Tye, just one position away from the points. 10 points available for the win in the shorter sprint race format, of course. Then 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for the top 10 finishers. So it really is quite important to make sure you get a clean run. But of course everybody knows how much there is on the line from this race. There's also a bonus point, of course, for the fastest lap. Safety car in this lap, so we're not going to be hanging around for long. That's the beauty of the choreographed work of the safety car and the safety team in communication with race control. They can get this done very quickly. And with Bolevet's car being there at turn 2, they can call the safety car halfway around the first lap, and then they can bring it in again at the end of the second lap. Great work from the team here at Motorland Aragon. And so we are only going to have essentially one full lap behind the safety car. That's all we really get this time. And so we can get back into racing. It's up to the drivers to keep us green. So let's see how it all works. Schormans, Barbarella, Blaschkos, Franco, Arnaldo and Vivek Canthan. Canthan is the one to watch. There is the 37. Still having an interesting battle in the midfield, Ty Fisher, trying to get as close to his Griffin Court teammates, Canthan and Montero, as physically possible. Not that it's very easy, but it's all now down to the Dutchman Kasper Schormans, who's not been in this position of leading the field from the safety car restart before. But of course, this is the race that is 20 minutes in duration rather than 30 minutes in duration. A lot less strain on a driver at the front end of the field, but a lot more pressure to let it slip. And for the man in P6, Vivek Canthan has got an opportunity here to start making some overtakes, pull away, and do it quicker than Noah Montero. If he can, then he can get himself into the title fight tomorrow. But as long as the gap is less than 28 points before the race tomorrow, then there's still a chance for Canthan. Kasper Schormans goes for convention and gets a good start on the restart from Barbarella, who has decided to stick with him. But Schormans does it like it's supposed to do. And as he comes off the final turn, it's green, 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 green once again here at Aragon. Schormans from Barbarella, Blaschkos, Franco, Arnaldo and Vivek Canthan. He's the man who's going to be on the move from P6. They worked their way through the first couple of corners, and Schormans has done this well. Good restart for the Dutchman. Franco trying to close in on Miki Blaschkos, who gets another chance up the hill. So let's see what Mickey Blaskos is going to be able to do to fend off from the hard-charging Dutchman Renault Franco. Lock up from behind. I think that was Leonardo locking the tyres with Canthon all over the back of him. Noah Montero trying to get on terms with Boris Leisen. Nice and early as Canthon launches in and gets through on Fausto Leonardo. That puts him into P5. So now he's 4 places ahead of Noah Montero, and that is great news. Oh, who's that pulling off? Someone's pulling off. Someone was pulling out of the line there. I think it was one of the Campos cars. So I think that might have been Daniel Kelleher. We'll double check, but certainly somebody is pulling out of the line, and it looked to me like one of the Campos cars. It could have been one of the Griffin cars. Maybe it was Ty Fisher, but certainly somebody out of the way nice and early into this race, unfortunately for them. Nacho Tunion's had a difficult one down in 27th. For the moment, though, we're watching Renault Franco in front of Blaskos and behind Simon Bolbarella. Look at the lead that Schurmans is pulling out. This is exactly what he will be hoping for, as the driver who appears to be plummeting down the order will try and pick it up. But there's certainly big problems early doors. It looks to me like the car in trouble may well be one of the... Oh, I can't make it out from here. I wonder whether it's a big issue or not. It's certainly caused a couple of issues down to the braking zone. For second place, Bolbarella and Franco, and then a big launch forward from the 15. That is Jensen Burnett. Shuffling the deck big time here. Noah Montero can't quite make up with it. So Montero is still down in 9th place in front of Rocco Coronel. But we're going wheel to wheel here. This is Burnett versus Leisen. Sorry, this is Burnett and the hard charging round the outside of Renault Franco. So that is actually Franco versus Bolbarella. He gets in a second. My apologies, we had jumped further forward. So that's Franco in a second. Bolbarella and Canthon. Canthon now 4th position ahead of Mickey Blaskos. This is an amazing charge back from Vivek Canthon with Montero down in 9th. Canthon is going for a podium round the outside of Bolbarella. Fancies his chances but backs down from it. And so Schurmans leads comfortably. On the inside, Canthon has a look at Bolbarella, but he has to bail out of it in the end. Fastest lap of the race. No surprises there. Vivek Canthon, 2-minute flat, 0.8. Well, whoever it was that was dropping down the order, it's certainly not made a habit of dropping back, because they have got going again. So it must have been just a slight issue there for one of the cars pulling wide and then managing to gather itself together again. So Schurmans leads by 2.6 seconds at this stage of the race already from Franco, Bolbarella and Canthon. There's Schurmans, wait, there is Franco. That's a massive advantage for an E4 race at this early stage, and it shows you just how strong Kasper Schurmans is already proving to be at the front end of the field. He's had all sorts of problems getting to the front of the field in his previous races, but now that he's there in first position, he is not going to let anything dissuade him from a chance of the victory. Meanwhile, Canthon is going after Bolbarella. We've got somebody off in the background. Canthon really is pushing to try and make this happen. Round the outside of the Argentine. Can he beat him to the braking zone at the hairpin? He has to cut back in and let him go for the moment. So Simon Bolbarella definitely vulnerable at turn 1. And that's going to put Canthon up into 3rd position if he can get there. Noah Montero, by the way, is on the move. He's got ahead of both Jensen Burnett and Nathan Ty. So that's now Noah Montero up into 7th place. Down on the inside, there's the move from Canthon. 3rd position for the American. So P3, a very good return on his investment. But he's got 2 Dutchmen in front of him, and he's unlikely to make it easy to catch them, because those 2 are very quick drivers indeed. Schurmans and Renault Franco. And side by side further back, that's going to be Blaskos trying to take on Bolbarella. Can't make it work. Boris Leisen is going to close up on them. And so Noah Montero is going to be next in line. Can Montero find a way through? Big change of direction from Boris Leisen. Noah Montero almost lost his front nose cone in that. But Leisen gets past Blaskos, and Montero's going to go with him. They drop down through the chicane. And yes, Montero did finish off the move on Bolbarella, following in behind the pole, Boris Leisen. So now it is Leisen in 5th and Montero in 6th, but Vivek Canthon is in 3rd. So already there is 3 points between them. So Canthon's doing everything he needs to do. But the more Montero can work his way through the field, the less likely it is that Canthon can win this title. Look, there are the 2 men that Canthon's got to catch, but all Montero's got to do is get past these 2, Bodischleisen first and then Simon Barbarella, and Montero can win the title. Canthan's got to finish 3 points less. He's got to gain back 3 points from these last 8.5 minutes to Noah Montero to keep the title fight alive. But if Montero finishes 1 place behind Vivek Canthan, he'll be uncatchable. Down to the braking zone. Montero really going at it for Bodischleisen. Can he hang this right round the outside? No, the pole is going to make him work for it. Good defensive tactics from Bodischleisen. This is not going to be an easy race to win. And it's certainly not going to be an easy title to win for Noah Montero, but that doesn't mean he isn't getting the job done. Yellow flag at turn 16. Are we going to go safety car? Well, we're going to go side by side as Leisen gets his run on Barbarella, and through he goes. Schaumanns now leads Franco to Canthan, and up to 4th position now comes Bodischleisen ahead of Barbarella and Montero. We've still got yellow flags at turn 16. Is that going to be safety car? It is. So safety car at 16. Well, big battles up front, but the drivers need to be aware they're under safety car. So who is it that's gone off? It looks to me like Louis Cochet, and he's missing a rear wing. So Louis Cochet in the KCL, that's game over for the very talented young man from France. Louis Cochet, all going very badly wrong from his point of view, sadly. It was never going to be a perfect run. He was always going to have a lot of tough opposition. And on this particular occasion, it's all gone wrong. We go to safety car again. But hopefully with that being right at the end of the back straight, I think that's going to be a relatively quick clean-up job. So Louis Cochet, plenty of opportunities for him to get back into race trim for the 3rd race of the weekend tomorrow. There'll be a bit of work overnight for the mechanics, but at least Louis Cochet still has a chance to go to battle. Louis Cochet has in the past raced under a Dutch license, of course, but he, I believe, currently races under a French one. But it is Dutch 1 and 2 at the moment. And this resets things as well for Noah Montero. 6th position with a chance to go after Leisen and Barbarella. And it wipes out that gigantic lead that Casper Schaumanns had over Renault Franco. So there is the stricken Louis Cochet. I believe he's still in that car, actually. He hasn't left the car yet. But they do try and encourage drivers, if you don't feel it's safe to leave the car, then don't. Wait until the safety team get to you. So Louis Cochet just following the instructions of the race officials. Schaumanns, Franco, Canthan, Leisen, Barbarella and Montero. If it stays like this, we've still got to fight for the title tomorrow. If Montero overtakes one more car, then he is the title winner. Safety car picks up the field. So it's not done yet. Are we going to see Noah Montero win the Spanish Championship, or will it go on another day? So Louis Cochet now gets out of the car because the safety team are there with him, absolutely following to the letter the protocol, as of the safety team that'll quickly hoist the car up and move it out of the way. And this circuit is long enough that I don't think we're going to get too long behind this safety car, but it doesn't help Louis Cochet, who joins Beaulevet on the sidelines. Walks away from the car, nothing more I can do. And so that's the way it currently stacks up. Casper Schaumanns leads the race from Renault Franco. Then it's Vivek Canthan, Bodischleisen, Simon Barbarella and Noah Montero. Then Jensen Burnett, Rocco Coronel, Nathan Ty and Miki Blashkos ahead of Andrei Petrovic, Dan Kelleher, Ty Fisher, Fausto Onado. We go to the safety car cam as we get the message that the safety car is in this lap. You can't fault this Motorland Aragon safety team. If we need a safety car, you'll only need it for a lap. Absolutely fantastic work. And that is slick like Rick, it can't miss. Excellent stuff from the safety team to get us back under racing very quickly indeed. And we've only got 4 minutes left of it. So in a little over 5 minutes time, if you count the additional lap, we could well see the champion crowned. If we don't, then it's all got to happen tomorrow. It's down to Vivek Canthan and Noah Montero. If Montero manages to finish within a place of Vivek Canthan, he will be champion. Canthan has to outscore him by 3 points. If he only outscores him by 2, it's not enough. So the battle is going to be well and truly joined from the restart. It'll be very tight, but Kasper Schürmann wants to pull it out again. He'll want to get further away. 30 points only between Montero and Canthan. And with 27 points available, Canthan has got to pull out the stops. There's a chance if he manages to get just 3 points more than Noah Montero, because then it would go to potential countbacks if they tied for points. But he's got to make it work. If Noah Montero finishes within 2 points of Vivek Canthan, he wins the title. So Kasper Schürmann waits for his moment. He's still waiting for his moment. Now he's gone for it! And the Dutchman pulls clear of Frankhout and Canthan. Then Leijsen, Balbarella and Montero, but it's going to be a feisty restart as we go back to green flag conditions. Green, 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 and Aragon. And look at Vivek Canthan already side by side as he battles away with the fast starting Boris Leijsen. Leijsen's going to get through. He passes Canthan as Montero now tries to come around the far side of Balbarella. Well, if Montero finishes ahead of Canthan, he wins the championship anyway, as Montero goes out wide, keeps himself in the game. Cups up to the inside line and Balbarella chops across. But there's 2 places between Canthan and Montero. That's enough to keep the dream very much on point for Noah Montero. As through comes the 32, that is Balbarella, still in front of Montero. He's swarming around all over the shop, trying to keep the Portuguese guy behind him. Down the drop. And Montero still working so hard to get past Balbarella. With Canthan down in 4th, Montero wants to be 5th. If he finishes 1 place away from his teammate, it's a guaranteed title. And here comes Rocco Coronel. He wants a piece of this, so Montero could lose out here to the Dutchman, and that would certainly give Canthan another crack at the title tomorrow. Safety car procedure is apparently under investigation. But there's still big battles to come as Coronel has got ahead of Montero. And now here comes Nathan Ty. He went right round the outside of Montero. And Coronel's drifted out wide. So through comes Montero. It's Petrovic who's in the battles with them as well. Yellow flags. Safety car again. Safety car again. With a minute to go. So I think we're going to finish under safety car here. But the big question is, who is it going to be who wins the title? We need to see how things have fallen after the musical chairs. Now, hang on. If Kasper Schürmann crosses the line with a few seconds left on the clock, and we only get 1 safety car lap, then this might not be over yet. We've got 2 cars in the gravel, 37 and 88. That's Ty Fischer and Mickey Blashkos. More problems for Blashkos then after a great qualifying. But he and Ty Fischer are in the gravel at 12. So we cross the line now, I believe, as Kasper Schürmann. Yes, he's got a few seconds left. Now we've got 2 cars there at turn 12. If they can clear them quickly, the time is about to run down to 0, but we're under safety car. If we can have only a 1-lap safety car again, then we might just still have some legs in this race. But here's the order at the moment. Schürmann from Frankhout, Leijsen and Canthan. Then Balbarella, Coronel, Ty and Montero. So Montero is 4 places back from Canthan. And with a broken front wing, it looks like the Drivex is going to cross the line with some points on the board. Now, which of the Drivex cars is that? That's going to be up towards the top 10. I wonder if that's Nathan Ty or Simon Balbarella that's missing a front nose cone. I think it might be Balbarella, you know. No, it's not. Just looked at his car and he has got his front wing on, so we need to double check and see which of the cars it is that is missing a front wing. I think it's Ty, actually. I think Ty's missing a front wing. If not, then it's going to be their teammate that's a little further back in the pack. That's Jensen Burnett in 11th place. So one of those 2 is certainly missing their front wing. But this is all going to come down now. The title will be decided based on whether we can have 1 more lap of racing or whether we're going to finish under safety car. And I'm afraid to say, that looks to me like we're going to finish under safety car. The team has only just been able to get to that point on the circuit, and those cars are still stranded at turn 12. So, on this occasion, I think it's going to be a continuation of the championship fight. So now, the title could be decided in qualifying tomorrow, because there are 2 points available for pole position, and the gap is going to come down from 30 points to 26 points, with 27 points available. You could not script this. You really could not script this. Well, it's going to be frustrating. We're going to finish under safety car, but for Casper Schormans, who managed to build up that 2.6 second gap in the middle phase of the race, I think that will still count as a very worthy victory indeed for Casper Schormans. So, it's going to be a victory for the Dutchman. The number 40, Casper Schormans, is going to bring this through for the win, with Vivek Kanthan in a brilliant P4, although he would have loved to have made it P3, and Noah Montero down to P8 behind Coronel and Ty. And so the championship rolls on another day. The final lap, and it will be behind the safety car. The bonus point for the fastest lap, by the way, goes to Renault Franco, so that doesn't affect the championship fight. Well, what a battle it'll be tomorrow. And the problem we have, annoyingly, is that the pole position could determine the championship fight. I mean, if Noah Montero gets pole position in qualifying tomorrow, then he wins the championship. There's no two ways about that, with only 26 points gap set to be between Kanthan and Montero. There is the confirmation. Hang on a minute, they haven't completed the final lap yet. Casper Schormans is the winner in waiting, because they've still got to cross the line. I've seen this happen before as well in F4 races. They're behind the safety car, and it doesn't matter what position you're in. Casper Schormans is leading now, but all it takes is a stall of the engine behind the safety car, and suddenly that win is gone. But certainly the battle for pole position tomorrow is going to be fascinating between Kanthan and Montero. If Montero gets pole position in tomorrow's race, then he opens the gap from 26 points to 28 points. And so pole position could determine the champion tomorrow. So Noah Montero, sat in 8th place now, will be thinking, well, all we've got to do tomorrow is pull out pole position, no problem. Vivek Kanthan will be thinking, right, that pole position is mine. So we've got a very nice situation here. Not for the first time this year either, because Boris Leisen did it back in Hadama 2 weeks ago. But the winner is going to be a rookie. 2 Dutchmen and a Pole will be on the podium. Casper Schormans will get the job done in fine style as long as he brings the car home behind the safety car. 2nd place for Renault Franco, and 3rd place for Boris Leisen. But the critical thing in the championship fight is that Vivek Kanthan will finish 4th and Noah Montero will finish 8th. And that means that Kanthan outscores Montero by 4 points. The championship gap comes down from 30 points to 26 points, with 28 points available tomorrow. 27 points, available tomorrow. Because we've got 25 points for the win, 2 points for the pole position, and 1 for fastest lap. Let me correct myself again then. 28 points for the race tomorrow. And with the gap down to 26, well, that's going to be a very tough qualifying session for Vivek Kanthan, because of course if Noah Montero gets pole position in qualifying tomorrow, he wins the championship. So the drivers work their way out of the final chicane, and it will be Casper Schormans who takes the victory. A really exciting battle for the title goes to tomorrow as the checkered flag comes out and Casper Schormans wins from Franco, Leisen, Kanthan, Bulbarella, Coronel, Ty and Montero. The title fight will go to the last race of the season. MP Motorsport take a victory for their young man, Casper Schormans. And I have to say, since the start of his campaign out in the Middle East in January, Casper Schormans has been threatening to be a race winner in the F4 categories in 2026. So it's no shock at all to me that he has been able to do so in the fantastic fashion he did. Now Casper Schormans well and truly is the winner, and deservedly so. Excellent work. Interestingly, after checkered flag, overtaking is forbidden, is what comes up on the screen. And I can't help but notice quite a few drivers doing it. It's actually been pointed out on the race control. After checkered flag, overtaking is forbidden. So race controllers clearly felt they need to make a point of it. That's what it means to the Schormans family. Casper Schormans, not the most famous of the drivers in this field, and certainly a man who's ploughing his own furrow. He doesn't quite have the same budget as the Coronels and the Monteros and the Canthons and the Ties of this paddock. But I tell you what, he's a very, very popular young man already. And as a rookie driver, Casper Schormans adds himself to the victory list, and deservedly so. Before the penultimate safety car, he was leading by 2.6 seconds. That is astonishing in this category. And a very deserving victory it is indeed for young Casper Schormans. So it'll be a podium for Boris Leisen, as well as a podium for Renault Franco. The two KCL Motorsport drivers will run second and third. And so to the podium area will go the top three overall and the top three in the rookies. That means that the fourth driver to make their way to the podium, because we've got two rookies on the overall podium, Schormans and Leisen. The third one is Simon Bulbarella, who came home in 5th place. Of course, there is going to be post-race track limits to consider, but as it stands for the moment, the battle for the championship rumbles on to tomorrow as Vivek Canthan outscores his teammate Noah Montero by 4 points. The gap goes from 30 to 26. Hang on a minute, it's not done yet, because there is an incident involving cars 13 and 17. That's Aleix Pineda and Nacho Tunion for possible overtaking under safety car. That's been noted by the officials, so that could get investigated. That's not going to affect anything in the top 10, but it certainly could give us a very different result in terms of the penalties list. So there's a lot of housekeeping for the officials to do, as there usually is at the end of a reverse grid race. But I don't think there's going to be any housekeeping at all for the MP Motorsport team to worry about. Their man has done the job the way he set out to, in fantastic fashion, and a very solid drive indeed from the Dutchman Casper Schormans. A very deserving victory indeed. Motorsport doesn't stop in the winter. It's a very tough mission indeed for the drivers when they come out here in 8 degrees Celsius air temperature. But boy, do they give us a great show when we go racing. And the latest name to join the victory list is Casper Schormans, who can't get out of the car quick enough to celebrate. It means a heck of a lot to this young man. Very deserving indeed. Casper Schormans, who got his chance in this season through the Richard Mille Talent Academy. Great to see him get the victory, and that's what it means to get the win with his rival Renault Franco. And there is a very, very proud mother. Casper Schormans, absolutely euphoric and worthy of the win. Look at that, Boris Leisen, great friends with Casper Schormans. They've grown up together and done amazing work. And of course, with the KCL team finishing second and third, it's effectively MP 1, 2, 3. Fabulous end to a fabulous run, and certainly some very happy campers in orange and black. Renault Franco, second place, he'll be happy with that. Helping the team out by being out here. Great run from the team and from the families, of course, as well. Great to see everybody enjoying themselves down here at Aragon. But for the MP trio, KCL, of course, being a satellite team for MP, it's a glorious day here at Aragon. The title goes on to tomorrow, and for our man on the top spot, it's a new winner in the E4 Spanish Winter Championship paddock as well, in the brilliant Casper Schormans of the Netherlands, ahead of Renault Franco and Boris Leisen. MP 1, 2, 3. Very happy men, I'm sure. And of course, the title fight between Canthan and Montero goes on one more day. They will battle for the title tomorrow in fantastic fashion. It could be decided in qualifying. Let's hope for our sakes, watching along at home, that it at least waits until the race itself. But what a battle it is set to be tomorrow to conclude the E4 Spanish Winter Championship. And a great result is in the offing as Casper Schormans will get to climb the podium and take his worthy place on the top spot. Fabulous performance so far then from these incredible young drivers. They really have put on a fantastic show, and it's great to see them all in euphoric fashion. There is a very, very happy camper indeed. The Dutchman, Casper Schormans, joins the long list of up and rising talents from the Netherlands. Great to see the hard work they've been putting in, and certainly for Casper Schormans, he will enjoy the moment. He's now in conversation with our man down in pit lane, Alex Garcia, with Casper Schormans.
Casper Schormans' first win here in Spanish Winter Championship. What a day, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's great. Pace was there from the beginning on. Unfortunately, a bit of a setback in the rain in the quali, but yeah, I mean, we made it work also in race 1 to come back from so far away, and also this race to eke that gap out in the beginning of the race, and an unfortunate safety car, but no, in the end we made it work, so I'm really happy.
And it's never easy as a rookie in this category, so to be able to be, even though it's a sprint race, real sprint, even though that, being able to be at the front is not easy, so for you must be also filling you with confidence ahead of the race tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, it gives me a lot of confidence. I think also when we look at a lack of experience compared to some of the guys in front who've done multiple years, I think it's really good that we're up there and able to fight for the win.
So I have to ask you, objective for tomorrow?
What did you say?
Objective for tomorrow?
I mean, I'm just gonna do my best. Just see how it goes. I think the base is good, and tomorrow it's supposed to be dry. So, but only with a lot of wind. So I think that's gonna make it a bit tougher with the tow as well. But no, we'll figure it out.
Good job, Casper. Time to enjoy the win, and good luck for tomorrow.
Yeah, thank you.
Great to hear from Alex Garcia in conversation with our newest winner in the championship, Casper Schormans. A nice podium this will be, because the three drivers who are all in the same outfit, MP Motorsport, of course KCL Motorsport being a satellite operation of MP. So it'll be a very happy podium indeed for those three, Casper Schormans, Renaud Franco and Boris Leisen. Provisional confirmation then, Vivek Canthan in P4, and that means that he scores 4 more points than Noah Montero, who is in 8th place. That means that the title fight rumbles on to the final day of the season in the E4 Spanish Winter Championship. The gap reduces from 30 points to 26 points, with 28 points on the table tomorrow. But the pole position for Noah Montero could pretty much seal the title. So he's going to have a very difficult race ahead of him. The task for Vivek Canthan is very clear when he wakes up tomorrow morning. It's pole position or nothing for him. So in 20 minutes plus 1 lap, we only got 10 laps around the circuit, partly because of how long the Motorland Aragon circuit is, but also partly because of the stoppages that we had for safety cars. Some good battles in the midfield. We saw a lot of great wheel-to-wheel. We didn't really see as much as we would have liked to because of the stoppages for safety cars. But for Casper Schormans, he joins the winners list in the Spanish Winter Championship paddock, and certainly looking forward to another exciting duel tomorrow. We'll stick around for the podium ceremony because, of course, it's going to be a very happy one indeed for the MP Motorsport team. All three drivers putting on a great show. Casper Schormans, Renaud Franco and Boris Leisen. Alex Garcia rejoins me. What a fabulous day it is then for the MP crew and KCL Motorsport. Great to see them all sharing the spoils after a race that could have gone very differently indeed.
Absolutely, it's Dutch festival today here in Motorland Aragon, because MP and KCL have definitely shown their pace, and I think this is important because we've seen this Spanish Winter Championship a true rebellion of the underdogs that have shown that they can fight with the established teams, which means MP Motorsport and KCL and Campos and Griffin Core maybe started off the season having a little bit more trouble. So to see those strong established teams fighting back a little bit more now towards the end, and of course with Griffin Core being at the top, it kind of shows that yes, there's still going to be a factor for the rest of the season. And I say this is good because it's not like we've lost the underdogs. We just added back the usual suspects, and we joined them all in a great amount of drivers who could fight for wins. And this for the regular season is promising. It is very promising.
I think you're right. It's going to be fascinating to see which drivers get confirmed as full-timers in the F4 Spanish Championship. We still don't really know yet what Renault Franco's long-term plans are. It'll be interesting to see how that kind of factors into the decision-making, because we know that he's on the cusp of stepping up to Euro Cup 3 level. He was in Formula Regional in the Middle East earlier in the year. So that's obviously got to play its part in it, but there's certainly signs that MP are going to be up for the scraps in the F4 Spanish Championship itself. They're not going to be resting on laurels, but they are going to be giving Griffin Core a real threat for the main title.
I'm sure they will. They have always done in the past few years. You know that the classic duel here in the Spanish Winter Championship or the Formula 4 Spanish Championship has been always Campos and MP, at least in recent years. So I wouldn't expect them to be far from the top. Now the question is if teams like DriveX, for example, can be also usually at the top, which they look like they can. So the more we add teams to that mix, the more diversity we have, the more diverse and the more exciting races we can have. So I think that's probably what's going to be happening, I would say.
So we get to celebrate with the MP Motorsport team on the podium, and we will hear the Dutch national anthem for Casper Schormans, the latest addition to the winners list here at Motorland Aragon. Anyone who's been watching Formula One and motor racing in general for the last 5 years is now very familiar indeed with that tune. The Dutch national anthem rings out over Motorland Aragon as we get another new victor, and MP Motorsport get a fairy tale podium, Alex. All 3 places locked out, but the big story coming into tomorrow, of course, is the title fight between the Griffin Core teammates. Vivek Canthan versus Noah Montero. The gap is now down to just 26 points with 28 points available tomorrow. Vivek Canthan has got to pull out the stops in qualifying and grab that pole position so that we get a champion crowned in the race, not in qualifying.
Exactly, that's what we were looking forward to. It is, of course, very, let's say, easy for Noah Montero to come out tomorrow as the new champion. But again, we've mentioned it before. This is motorsport; anything can happen, and it usually does. So we have to wait until tomorrow, see that Noah Montero seals that deal before we give it actually any credence to that. But yeah, it's definitely down to qualifying now. If Vivek Canthan can manage that pole position, and it would be an important one for him, then we stay alive until the last race of the season. If not, oh well, we've lasted until the last day of the season, which isn't too bad, to be honest.
And it's interesting because so far this weekend it does seem as though the one-lap raw pace appears to be with Canthan, not with Montero. They're both very quick, but Canthan so far today has definitely had that edge. So whether we can replicate that going into tomorrow, it's going to be fascinating.
Exactly, and also it will depend in a big way on the conditions that we have tomorrow morning, because we cannot forget that today's qualifying was on a wet track, that today's conditions for the races that we've had have been fairly cold and with a lot of wind. So let's say that tomorrow, for example, there's no wind in the morning. Those conditions would have been new for these drivers, and so you need to change setup, you need to change approach, you need to change pretty much everything. And the one who adapts better is the one who takes this point. So a lot still to fight for, a lot of still that we don't know. And so I would say tomorrow looks exciting.
It certainly does. Gracias, mi amigo Alex Garcia down in pit lane. From myself, Jake Sanson. We've had a fantastic day of racing from E4. There's still the Euro Cup 3 Spanish Winter Championship sprint race to come. But the E4 drivers will fight for the title tomorrow. Vivek Kanthan versus Noah Montero. We'll get back into the action tomorrow for some more fantastic race action. From all of us here, thank you so much for watching. We'll be back for more drama. Same time, same place, same race. Hasta mañana.
A continuación, Giovanni Fester, representante de Autotécnica Motorín, hace entrega al segundo rookie, segunda posición, Boris Lizen.